Hi, meet Juan and Julia. They're hopelessly struggling to select a secure investment project for the EB-5 visa application, but it seems impossible. Hundreds are offered. Many make unsupported promises, charge high fees, offer low returns, and are backed by commission-hungry agents and unscrupulous promoters, with no details on their past experience, qualifications, or oversight, making Juan and Julia fear the financial risk of loss and possible green card denial. What they need is reliable, independent, and accurate information verified by registered investment advisors and EB-5 investment professionals. Luckily, that's all possible with EB5Projects.com. Juan and Julia confidently registered for free and gained access to independent research, analysis, background checks on EB-5 projects and managers that are compliant with USCIS policy, U.S. securities laws, no agent fees, and direct communication with project managers. Juan and Julia were able to make an educated decision while saving time and thousands of dollars. Visit EB5Projects.com today for free access to verified, no-commission EB-5 investments. Contact us at support@eb5projects.com or call 1-305-912-3245.
Hi, and welcome today for everybody joining our show to a very important show on the EB-5 visa program. Obviously, a lot to discuss today. I want to welcome everybody who's joining us either for the first time or as a regular listener. We are USAdvisors. We put these shows on to help educate and inform the people who are interested in the EB-5 program as to either how they can invest or how they can raise capital. We perform due diligence, research analysis on EB-5 projects for investors who are looking to invest, find the safest and best investment for them. That's our role. We are a registered investment advisory firm. We have a portal which we display all of the information on. It's eb5projects.com. Everything that we'll be discussing today is on eb5projects.com. If you have any questions, we have a phone number which we'll display. Please feel free to call in. Obviously, a lot to discuss this week since we had an extension of the Regional Center program. And so I wanted just to show you, so if you have any questions, the news is here on the update section, and you can find all of the news related to the EB-5 programs, projects, principles, and also anything associated with the updates you can find on the updates. So we will say, here's our events section. If you have any question on any of the events that we'll be having, we had our yesterday, as a matter of fact, we had our first event in Turkish. So for any of our listeners who are who follow what's happening in Turkey and are from Turkey and speak Turkish, we had a great event, and you can watch the replay here. That was done yesterday. Today, obviously, we'll be speaking about what's happening in the program. Joining us from Chicago, Gerald Cipolla. Jerry has been a speaker with us before with the Cipolla Law Group, and we're very excited to have him on. So let's go. We may have Seth Freeman coming on later, also from EM Capital. Let's get started right now with the news. So, Jerry, are you with us?
I hear you, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Great. All right. So, obviously, a big week today with what happened with the extension of the program. I'd like to get, first of all, your thoughts and comments on what happened, and for those who may not be familiar with why it was even there was a deadline, if you could explain that.
So the Regional Center program was set to expire, and the government funding bill that was just extended through September 30th, which is the end of the government's fiscal year. The EB-5 Regional Center program was extended until September 30th of 2017, which means Regional Center cases can go forward at least until September 30th of this year, unless the government, in its wisdom, makes any other changes.
Okay, so everybody was expecting there was in fact a deadline which came and went last week, and we had a 1 week extension. So why is this important for people who may be watching?
It's huge. The regional center program's the main driver of the EB-5 program. It enables the use of indirect jobs. So if the regional center program expires, people that are potentially on the verge of investing or want to invest through the regional center program that creates a lot of jobs in the US would not have that opportunity if the government did not extend that program.
Exactly. And so there was also some discussion in the industry about possible changes, reforms, perhaps some measures taken to improve either transparency or make the program better. Did any of those happen with the extension?
For now, my understanding is that the EB-5 Regional Center program has just been extended. The other DHS improvements or the increases in the investment amounts is still undergoing review. Congress also has a number of bills out there that could extend or modify the terms, the structure of the EB-5 program. So this just extends the program until September 30th, 2017. But if Congress decides to make a law that could just make reaping changes within the program, or if DHS goes forward with their proposals, that could also have some significant changes.
Right, because as I understand it as well, there is still a lot of interest in Congress to reform the program. We constantly cover on our news that there are and you can see here if you read any of the latest news. So here's the update on the extension of the green card through September, and there's some excellent articles describing exactly what happened here. But if you see any of the articles that we have posted on our site, you can see time and time again calls from everybody, from Congress throughout the industry, just about to go ahead and make some reforms. So we note that those have not been none of those reforms were put in place, but there is a chance, I guess here's an article from Forbes. There is a chance, Jerry, that some of these reforms may actually happen before September 30.
Yeah, I think one way or the other, whether DHS acts on their own and makes these reforms, or if Congress comes in and acts and legislates the reforms. As you mentioned, so DHS has gone through a comment period, has proposed raising the investment amounts, changing how Ts are interpreted and evaluated. But then again, there's just a number of bills out there that by Congress that could make their own legislation and just change and reform the entire program.
Okay, and I just want to remind everybody, if you do have a question or a comment, if you'd like, feel free to call in. This is a call-in show. So for the investor who may be watching, should they we have a call. We actually have a call. Okay, go ahead, Joe, if you would. Caller, go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, hello. You're on the air.
Yeah, hi. This is Marco. I had a question in regards to the extension of the EB-5, and I wanted to know exactly the dates that it was extended to. And also, the second part of the question is that when, obviously, do you think would be the latest that someone can apply for the EB-5 program, considering the extension?
Good, Jerry. You want to grab that one?
Yeah. Thanks, Michael. Hi, Marco. So with the extension, if you wanted to pursue an EB-5 through the Regional Center program, under the extension, you have until September 30th, 2017. With that in mind, Congress could make some reaping reforms that would change how to go about the EB-5 program, or DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, could make those changes. So if you're content with how the program is structured right now, there's no better time than right now to get your case filed. If you want reforms, then you may want to wait, but most people like certainty. And so filing with a lower investment amount of 500,000 in a T, that may not be available after September 30th. It may not be available 2 weeks from now. So going forward with your projects is probably the best way to proceed in most cases if you want the current status quo.
Sure, and thank you, Jerry. Is that Joe? Is that another caller coming in? By the way, Marco, if you're listening, we do want to mention all of the articles, all of the information about the extension is posted on the EB5projects.com website. So you can go through those. I've just showed about 5 or 6, and there's quite a bit of information. But to reiterate what Jerry said, it's true. The program has been extended. The Regional Center program has been extended to September 30th. However, as I understand it, and Jerry, I think you agree, the change either in the minimum investment amount or where one can make that minimum investment regarding a TEA could change at any time. In addition, there could be additional reforms or some sort of compliance measures that may be instituted, and all of that may affect an investor who does have a petition they're wishing to file.
Agree 100%. And for an investor that's on a shoestring that has identified a good regional center project, you may want to take action sooner rather than later, because all the bills that I'm seeing significantly increase the investment amounts.
Good. Okay, I understand. Caller, we have another call. Caller, go ahead with your question.
Hi, this is Nick, and I have a question. Actually, I want to apply for E2. Can I turn my E2 to EB5 later on?
Jerry, that's a good question for you.
So a lot of it depends on the timing. If you're doing everything in conjunction, you could potentially use your E2 investment with your EB5 investment. However, if a period of time goes by, you're going to usually want to first set a baseline of jobs that have been created, and then reinvest funds that you've already paid taxes on. Make sure you have the requisite amount, whether it's 500,000 in the T or $1 million in the non-T, and show how that investment is going to create the 10 jobs. So timing is critical. So if you want to do everything all at once, that's an option. But if there's going to be a lag between the two, then you want to create a baseline of jobs and show how the new investment is going to create those 10 jobs.
Great. Did that help answer the question? I hope so. I think so. So is there anything else that you may want to, any other advice that you may want to give to potential investors? I know that you speak to a lot of clients regarding, I know there was a big rush. Everybody was trying to put in their applications before last week, and then we had a brief extension. Again, it looks like we have a reprieve until September 30. Any other guidance you might want to give to your clients?
Well, in terms of investment amount, if you want the lower investment amount, you probably want to consider filing sooner. But all the reforms aren't necessarily going to be bad. Some of the reforms are targeted towards protecting investors and making more disclosures, providing more transparency. So some of the changes, if they do make those changes, may benefit investors. So if you're not kind of on a shoestring and the investment amount is not a huge factor, you could wait and see. But if you like the way the program is run right now, there's no better time than the present.
I agree. So it looks like we've got another extension, a few more months for people who haven't made a commitment or have not made a decision. No changes in amount, no changes in where they can invest the minimum amount. TEA status remains the same. No integrity measures, no additional disclosure requirements. One interesting point, we have seen a lot of regional centers getting notices, requests for information, audit letters, site visits. And so if you're an investor in a past EB5 event, you may want to check with the regional center to see if they've received one of these requests, because we have seen a lot of those going out. No idea what they will mean. The chances are, and Jerry, I don't know if you have a thought on this. My sense is that in the past, USCIS was simply approving the 829s based on some whatever information was submitted in the petition. They would have the adjudicator review the filing. If everything looked fine, they would just give the approval. And in fact, the approval rates were very, very high. It seems to me now, though, based on the conversations during the stakeholders meetings and other guidance given by USCIS, that if the information presented in the filing does not meet or is not the same as what's actually happened on the ground. For instance, if in the case of a developer who may not have leased out as much space to tenants, or may not have done the amount of economic impact or improvement in the asset, or constructed the asset on time, that they in fact may reject the information that was provided and go ahead and issue a denial. Is that something, Jerry, that you see on the horizon happening after potentially a site visit that doesn't show what the developer's been saying?
Yeah, totally agree, Michael. We're in an era now of increased enforcement and a lot of perception that there's fraud out there. So DHS is going to be doing a lot more site visits. They're going to be using their own investigational data. In the past, as you mentioned, the documents did all the talking, but now they want to do their own due diligence, essentially. And so processing times could increase because of the verifying of the data, and then they're going to use their own findings. So with this increased enforcement, it's not just affecting undocumented, but it's also affecting investment type cases as well as employment-based cases.
Precisely, and we know that they've been doing enforcement in a number of other visa categories, but this is new for EB5, the fact that they're actually going to the site, doing site visits, and asking for things like payroll records and examining how much has actually been developed, if it does meet with what was submitted or what was planned for in the submission. So you're right. I mean, that's on the USCIS side. Of course, we continue to see the SEC getting involved. Here's the latest action came out this week from Idaho. Gentleman there was accused by the SEC of mishandling funds. I think certain funds went again to personal expenses and they deviated the investor funds into unauthorized uses. So there's quite a few articles there. We of course maintain the litigation section. If you are interested in this or any other regional center cases involving the SEC or the FBI and potential actions, you can find it in our litigation section. So, Jerry, I mean, on the one hand, good news for investors who may be getting involved in these projects. Obviously, none of us want to see them lose their money or their ability to get a green card. But have you started to hear from others who may be saying that this is detrimental to the program, all these cases of fraud or accusations of fraud? Is there a problem there that you see?
Yeah, absolutely. It sort of reminds me of back when, after the recession in the 2008 time period, when the banks became very regulated, the trading funds became very regulated. And I have a lot of clients that are in the finance sector, and they need to do a lot of, they have constant audits. And so the paper trails that they have to leave are just excessively burdensome. And now we have the SEC coming in and regulating, and FINRA maybe there. And so there's that parallel is kind of coming back now into the EB5 sector, because in their mind, it's a field of finance essentially. So the investment center, regional centers are raising capital, and now they want to come in and protect investors. So for the regional centers, documenting everything is essential, and that's going to create a lot of burden on them. And if they're not documenting everything to where they're dotting all their I's, crossing all their T's, that could affect investors and lead to denial of their cases. So on the one hand, there's some safeties maybe on the investment vehicles, but on the other hand, the immigration side may be seeing greater risk because of all these site investigations and greater scrutiny.
Yeah, what I'm seeing from our side is that the regional centers have definitely become more cognizant of the fact that they have to document everything, where the funds went, how they were spent, when they were spent. If any, and it looks to me like if any of the funds were misspent or misappropriated, either to other project or personal uses, it's definitely going to be detrimental, not only for the regional center, but also for the people involved. And it potentially could impact the investors, not only their ability to secure the green card, but then, of course, to get a return on investment. So I agree with you. I think overall the message is good that, at least one federal agency is on the lookout for investor interest. It looks like now USCIS has finally jumped on board doing some site audits to make sure that what they're receiving in the IA-29 adjudications is actually true. Questions have always been raised about developers falsifying documents to secure an IA-29 approval. But now with these site inspections, there is an audit and a review. So I think the industry is getting the message. Of course, none of these measures were included. They're not required. There were no integrity measures included in this current extension. But it seems that the industry is being proactive. They're taking it on their own to make the changes that are necessary to come into compliance with the new procedures and regulations. And Jerry, I'm going to give you the final word. I think this is a good thing for the program.
Yeah, I mean, all those bad stories that we were hearing in the past, that hopefully could prevent the next mess. The bulk of the players out there are doing the right things, and they have the right intentions. But now all the good players are going to have to act as if they are going to be open to an audit, to an investigation. So acting as if will create greater measures. It'll create greater transparency. And hopefully, ultimately, it protects the investors out there.
Right. And one thing, and Jerry, I appreciate you again. For our viewers who are watching, Jerry's information can be found here on the portal. And here he is. Good picture of you, Jerry. And Gerald, he goes by Gerald, but I know him as Jerry. All of his contact information is here. Why don't you just give everybody who may be listening your phone number and email how to contact you?
Thank you, Michael. Our office number is 773-687-0549, 773-687-0549, and you can contact me at gerald@immigrationvisaus.com. And we'd love to help you. We help clients around the world and around the United States.
Excellent. And I'm going to leave this. So obviously, it's good that the federal agencies, USCIS and the SEC, are getting involved doing the audits and the monitoring. Our recommendation is always for investors to get an assessment of the project done before you invest. Once you put your money into the project, usually it's too late. By that time, the money is gone, it's been spent. And if there is a recovery or if there is a fraud or a failure, it's typically very often that you will not get very much money back. And certainly your green card petition hangs in the balance. So we provide these initial assessments, what we call pre-subscription audit reviews, risk assessments, and we're happy to help any investors out there before they invest to determine that if the project is feasible, if it's realistic, if the developers who are promising to do all the things, if we think that they can do that, if there's sufficient capital to do the development. So we always recommend that investors get a pre-subscription independent review before they invest. But of course, and that only helps. That's just a standard in almost any private equity transaction, EB5 being one of those. So I want to thank, we're going to keep it short and sweet. The EB5 program has been renewed until September 30th. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We wish everybody luck in, yeah, we'll deal with some of the enforcement and other issues next week. We just had Seth coming on. We'll get him next week. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, for being a part of the broadcast. If you have any questions, tune in next week, Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. We'll do another show, and I want to thank everybody for joining. Have a great weekend.